Welcome back, explorers, to a new episode of Crossroads. My name is Sam Olsen, and I'm your guide for all things movie and XR related. Kicking off this episode, you're going to be seeing some clips from various movies. Some you may have seen, some you haven't, but they all have something in common, and it's a technology that is being used across the entertainment industry all of the time. That technology is motion capture, or mocap for short. For those who have heard the term before, when you hear motion capture, you may be thinking of the gray pajama suits with the white spheres all over it, or the viral behind the scenes from Avatar 2009 with actors Zoe Saldana and Sam Worthington in these suits to be used as tracking for their Na'vi counterparts. But the concept and first execution of motion capture and tracking dates back to the 1910s and 20s as a method for animation. Essentially, motion capture requires a reference of movement for an animated character. So when Snow White was being animated, having these dances and references of movements to trace over made Disney's animation all the more convincing and realistic. This method of motion tracking and animating is also known as rotoscoping. One of the more notoriously silly versions of this can be seen in the animated Hobbit film from 1977, but that's not the only Tolkien work that used motion capture animation. Once animation is in 3 dimensions, how would the 2-dimension method of rotoscoping be translated? That would be with the motion capture suits we saw before. Beloved characters like Gollum from Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy and Jar Jar Binks from Star Wars prequels were the pioneering examples of how this technology can be used. Their actors Andy Serkis and Ahmed Best, respectively, wore these suits to mark out joints and track movements to be used for their 3D modeled characters. Go to the comments down below and write some of your favorite characters that were created with motion capture and may have even been your first introduction to motion captured animation. I think mine was Monster House from 2006 or The Polar Express from 2004, both from director Robert Zemeckis. Remember, as you go down to the comments, that you hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. We owe a lot to these characters and pioneers of motion capture, since the advancement of this technology was a result of creatives like Peter Jackson and George Lucas desiring to make their stories as realistic as possible. Gollum, for example, was the first character to be captured live, with Andy Serkis on set acting as Gollum rather than in a stage, heightening the interactivity and immersion of all cast members. How has this technology advanced since then? Well, lucky for us at MAVERiC, we have a piece of tech that is changing the game of mocap and making it more accessible to people like you and me. This product is none other than Sony's mocap. These bands include the cutest sensors, which can be strapped to your main appendages, and along with a compatible smartphone, you can be rigged to your own character and have your motions captured and reflected in real time. Not only can this change the movie making process by narrowing down time for animators of 3D rendered characters, but XR's goal for immersion and interactivity is so much closer to reality. Rigging your VR chat character so your legs and hips reflect your actual movements can allow for accurate interactions with games and the virtual world around you. MAVERiC Studios itself was able to try this in an XR play titled Folding Futures for the La Jolla Playhouse's annual WOW Festival. Be sure to check out the video on this page highlighting that incredible experience. Motion capture is so interesting to me since its origin, as we discovered, was in improving animation, something hyper-stylized and seen as a separate realm from the real world of you and me. And yet, it's developed into a practice to make animation feel as real as possible, to marry 2 art forms so we could suspend our disbelief just a little bit better and get lost in the stories being told on screen. So, as you watch your next movie or show, keep a lookout for those characters, which more than likely have a skeleton and life in their performance thanks to a human in a gray costume, and the months of post-production done by animators. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.